Hey, church, we're so glad that you're logging on tonight. You're on Facebook or YouTube, and I'm excited and glad that you've chosen to be with us tonight because I have a friend on the call, my friend Bill Cross, and Bill is a mentor and leader in my life, and he's taught me so much about the importance of mentoring. And so tonight, what we're going to do is we're just going to have a little conversation on what mentoring is and why it's important. And even I think cross-generationally, the need for young people to be mentored and why mentoring young people is important for the generation that comes before us. At Light and Life, we're seeking to be a multi-generational church. We're never going to be a young church, and we're never going to be an old church. We're going to be an everybody church. And so we want to just share a little bit about the importance of that. And so I think just starting off, one thing I would ask is, Bill, how long have you been at Light and Life? And then maybe you could share a little bit of your heart for mentoring.
I've been at Light and Life a little over 8 years now. And mentoring has been a part of my life ever since I developed a relationship with the Lord. The home church that I was attending, I had the privilege of having a number of mentors, both men and women, who spoke into my life. And the importance of that was that helped my growth. And it was challenging at times, right? Because I was called on the carpet when needed to be. But I can say this, that it was so necessary and such a foundation for me. And when I became a part of Campus Crusade for Christ, they had what they called shepherds. And this was that capacity, that place that people, older or more mature people in the faith, came alongside the younger ones. And it's biblical. You know, we see it throughout the Bible. And we see the benefits of that, having someone older, more mature, to help guide you and school you. And I think that is something we don't see enough of. And that's not just from young people, that is from some of the older people who have the ability to do that. And for a variety of reasons, sometimes don't, feeling they don't. Maybe feeling a bit as if they're not equipped to do that. But it's really sharing life skills. And when you live long enough, you've picked up some life skills. And when you've walked with the Lord for a while, you have the opportunity to share some of that. And that's an advantage that someone who has more seniority has, that they can use to build into others.
I love that. And I think, Bill, there are definitely times that you've schooled me. I'm just going to be vulnerable and honest on this call. I think there are a couple of times where I got a text message or a phone call or hey, we need to have coffee and sit down and talk for a minute. And those have been beneficial for me as a pastor and as a leader. And I think it's beneficial for everyone, no matter where you find yourself in terms of ministry, vocational, not vocational, in the church, new, old, older, younger, whatever. Mentoring is so important, and you see it all the way from the Old Testament to the New Testament. So how have you been mentoring people, Bill? Like, I think one of the fears people may have is like, how do you even start the process? Like, how do you find a mentor? How do you get mentored? Like, maybe you could just speak on like the starting of some of those things.
I think if I use my own example, I was hungry and thirsty.
Okay.
And I know that I know I needed people to come alongside me. So I'm looking for that. And I really did. So I want to begin to soak up some things that others who have been walking with the Lord longer had. And I think you can begin to look for that in persons. You don't it's not something you force somebody into. It's not an ABC, let's just do this type of a thing. It really is, it's someone that has that thirst and desire to be there. I can't, with you, Sean, you're a little hard-headed, but other than that, you have a desire to grow and learn. And that's something that I can recognize. And I think that's something that you can begin to see in someone. That's a starting point. It's much like with your children. With Caspian, you're mentoring, whether you realize it or not.
Right.
And much of it is purposeful, but much of it, a lot of it is what he catches, not what he sees or what you're teaching him. So a part of it is a lifestyle that you're beginning to address and adopt and share with. and someone begins to see the need to have that as a part of what they do as a Christian.
Wow, that's great. So you're looking for somebody that's wanting to live out being like Christ, not perfect, right? But directed. Somebody, I think one of the things, Bill, that drew me to you as a mentor was not only your integrity in the sense of I watched you living out what you talked about, but I also watched you be honest when you weren't living out what you talked about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that you learn in maturity and over time. And I would
Mm-hmm.
say if you're seeking a mentor, seek somebody that's honest about not being perfect and
Absolutely.
honest about themselves, no matter what stage they're in, still needing to be mentored by someone else and discipled by someone else, and who still is submitted to Christ in everything that they do. I think that's kind of it. It doesn't really matter, right, what age you are at that point. It just it matters the reality of like you're going to go through life stages and you
Right.
need people that have been there before you, right? Is
Right.
is that kind of how it works?
Right. It's about your openness. It's I'm desiring to grow.
Mm,
Uh, for me personally, when I'm doing this, there are persons I will not be mentoring. And it's not because they're bad persons or I think that of them. It's just that for me, they're not at the stage where they're ready for that, or at least for what I'm going to be bringing to the table with them. It doesn't mean they can't be mentored. It's just not me. It's just not my time with them.
wow.
So I'm looking for specific individuals oftentimes because that's what the Lord's called me to. I don't want that to sound too out there. So I'm so spiritual. It's the idea that again, there's persons that sort of fit in my wheelhouse. How's that?
That's good. I like that. That's good.
And there's others that do not. And it doesn't mean that they certainly don't need to be mentored. It just says that it's not the fit for me.
Wow, that's so good. And so that's a reminder that we need more mentors in the church. Like I would
Absolutely.
say to the mature believers in our church, we need more mentors. We've got the young people, they're coming. Again, we're not a young church, we're a multi-generational church. You're always going to be welcome no matter what age you are. You see that in Bill. But the reality is that as newer, younger people come to faith, whether young specifically by age or spiritually new, in the faith, we need more mentors to step out and say, I'm going to walk with somebody where I've already walked. I just this week, Bill, had a brother who finally, he said, you know, Sean, I really need to mentor someone. And I got him connected with a young man in the church, and they've been
Mm-hmm.
walking in this discipleship relationship weekly. You know, he's in a serious relationship. This brother's been married in a godly marriage for years. And now
Great.
I'm seeing this happen. And like you said, it's biblical. It's not just an idea that we made up that God says like, oh, try this, or the church thought was cool. It's a reality of how we've seen God move from generation to generation. And so Bill brought up some great points. You know, you're naturally going to begin to be connected with certain people, and you're going to feel that tug. It's going to be like, man, should they mentor me? Should they lead me? How can the people around me develop me? And so you've got to be willing to be in the posture of being a learner. When Bill talked about my hard-headedness, I think what he really means is there were times that I thought I knew everything, right, Bill?
Is that past tense, John?
There are times that I think I know everything. And so it's the reminder that you're always being a learner, right? And you have to be submissive to that because God's going to give a mentor provoking a word, an opportunity to say, man, I see this and this is an area of growth for you, but it's constructive, right? That's how we become the body of Christ is we're literally, when I think of construction, and I think of mentoring, I'm thinking of like building blocks, right? Almost like kids playing with Legos, and you build
Sure.
generation to generation. Just like with my kids, I don't want them to go through what I went through, and I want them to learn from what I've gone through. Isn't that the same kind of thing with mentoring as well?
Absolutely. I think the other thing you have to realize too is that a lot of people can mentor, but a lot of people can't be a mentor. So
Okay.
it really needs to be a call in your life. And I'm not just trying to use a play on words. I'm saying you can get a good word from anybody or from a variety of sources, but that doesn't mean that's the call on their life. It doesn't mean it's bad. It means it's just not the fit possibly for them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. That's good.
So I think it's imperative that you recognize and realize that because in the process, if that's not your call, you will soon learn this isn't working real well.
Mm,
I'm I'm not getting through. This is frustrating to me. It's going to be frustrating some anyway. But then I know that's the call on my life, so I'm going to follow through in this because it's not up to me, it's up to the Lord to tell me that I'm moving out of that at this point. And again, I think that many times we have people that can give good advice, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a mentor.
Right. That's good, because part of it is not just giving good advice, but being willing to walk with somebody through the solution that they're finding, right? I think of like Jethro and Moses. We think about
Absolutely.
that model, and that reality is, hey, you have a problem here and
Mm-hmm.
this problem needs to be solved, but I'm willing to walk through it with you relationally as you find solution to the problem. Doesn't mean it disappears or goes exactly
Not
the
at
way you
all.
want it to tomorrow, right?
Right. Absolutely. The other thing, too, is that if you're not committed to this, the challenge will be you can actually do damage in a relationship. If that's not the commitment, if that's not the call on your life. And maybe not lasting damage, but those are the things where somebody can fall away or they find themselves in maybe a worse position than when they started. So it really does say that it's something I have to have a commitment to and know that's the call.
Wow, that's so good. Well, I thank you for your time, Bill. Every time I talk to you, man, I really do learn and grow, and you continue to mentor and develop. And it's just a reminder for us, we're a multi-generational church, and the important value, one of the important values that's found in that is the reality that we're going to need mentors, especially as we raise young leaders up in the faith. We're going to plant churches. We're going to plant new ministry. These things are going to happen, but people need to be mentored. You don't know what you don't know. That was a saying I would hear a lot from Bill. And the more I knew, the more I realized I didn't know, Bill. Isn't it crazy that it kind of works that way? I mean, but walking through that and growing in that reminded me, be a learner, and also reciprocate this to someone else. Like that example that you've set in my life now makes me want to be a mentor to the younger people that are coming up underneath me. Not just, and again, when we say younger, we have to be really careful, because in the church, we're not always talking about physical age. Sometimes we're talking about spiritual age as well.
Absolutely.
Because you can be really young in the faith and be 50, 60 years
Absolutely.
old. And so sometimes, it's not specifically about that age, but it's about the spiritual development and where you are on your journey. So church, I just want to remind you, mentorship is so important. It's part of the discipleship process. You need it. We need all generations, and we need people that have been walking with the Lord for a long time, new believers, everyone in community connected together. And Bill's a great example of this. Bill, if it's okay, what I'll do is I'll just kind of tag you in this. And if somebody has a question about mentoring or where to get started, maybe they could email you and just say,
Oh,
hey, I need to know where to get started with that. Would that be okay with you?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you, church. We appreciate you so much. We're glad that you tuned in tonight. And we just want to continue this where you're getting to know some of the people in our church and kind of their gifting and how God is using them, because the body is so much bigger than what we see on a Sunday morning. So bless you. Thank you for being here. And we pray your family has a blessed night. Thanks for tuning in.